situation where someone ends up pointing a firearm at you, you have to think about a couple of things, or be aware of a couple of things. And the time to be aware of these things and learn them is before something actually happens. If someone's pointing a weapon at you and they're talking, they're telling you that they want your money or your keys, or your purse, your backpack, or some possession of yours, you're probably better off just handing it to them. If they really wanted to shoot you or kill you, they would have shot you and there wouldn't be any conversation taking place. The time that you need to think about the fact that you might need to disarm the person is if they're using the weapon to control you and direct you someplace. In other words, if I'm on the street here or in a parking lot and they want me to go into some alley where we're out of sight, if they want me to get into a vehicle and drive, that's what you don't want to have happen. That's the time you have to take your stance and fight your way through the situation. That's the time where you may decide, okay, I don't want to be taken away. I might not ever be seen again. So that's where you have to consider doing the gun disarm. When you do a disarm, one of the things you have to be aware of is you can't just necessarily raise your hands up quickly like this and grab the gun. He will notice that, he will fire or flinch, and he will fire. So when the gun goes up and it's pointing at you, you always want to have hands in a defensive position, whether somebody's getting too close and threatening you, or if they have a gun at your face. When your hands are up like this, it doesn't look threatening to your assailant. However, what he's not thinking about is the fact that your hands are also only a couple of inches from the weapon. So with that in mind, what you're really trying to do is not beat the speed of the bullet. No one can do that. You're trying to get inside his reaction time and beat the speed of his reaction. So from the moment that you begin to move, then he notices your movement and he thinks about that, and then he determines he needs to pull the trigger. What I want to do is move so quickly over such a short distance that I can accomplish my movement before he has time to react to it. So with the weapon being pointed up like this, what I want to do is push out of the way at the same time I move my head. So what's happening here is I'm not just pushing the gun, I'm pushing the gun and I'm moving my head out of the way. All right? And what I'm really doing is not pushing the gun, but I'm pushing his wrist. So I'm grabbing a hold of the wrist. Once the gun is out of the way, good chance it might discharge, it might go off. But that's where I was standing a second ago. Now I clamp my hand down on top of the slide. If this is a revolver, then I've got my hand covering the cylinder, and good chance that it's going to hold it in place and he won't be able to discharge it. If it's on the slide's not going to be able to move. At this point, I want to bring the weapon close to me. Notice that it kind of pulls him off balance a little bit. And then I'm going to use the momentum and the torque from my body, from my torso, not my arms. I'm not going to arm wrestle him. And I want to turn and rip this thing out of his hand. I've got a nice tight grip on top of it. And I'm going to rip it. I'm pushing it this way. If it happens to go off right here, too bad. And then I complete the turn with a twist like this. It breaks free from the grip. At this point, if I want to strike him in the face, I can do that. Then I can step back and I have control of the weapon at this point. I wouldn't necessarily want to use this weapon because I don't know if it's real, I don't know if it's loaded, I don't know if there's a round in the chamber, or whether this weapon is in a poor state of repair or maintenance. It could blow up in my face, so I certainly don't want to do something like this where I could fire around and have a flash explode in my face. So let's walk through the technique, taking one step at a time. So he's pointing the weapon at my face. So the first thing I want to do is get my hands up. Notice that they're forward, they're not back. I have my hands forward, and they're also not way out here, they're in closer to the weapon. From here, I want to move his wrist, I want to trap his wrist, move it and my head at the same time. Alright, so now I've created some distance between the weapon and my head. So if it did go off, it's going off right there. If someone's standing beside me on this side or on that side, it's not pointing towards them. At this point, I'm going to clamp my hand down on top of the barrel. I'm going to pull it in toward me so that I have control. If he tries to pull away from me and do gun retention where he wants to maintain control of his weapon, it's a lot more difficult when it's against my body. If I have my hands out here and I try to disarm the weapon from him, now we can struggle, and it just depends on who is quicker, who's stronger. So from here, I have strength when it's against my body, and I'm going to begin to rotate all of the momentum of my body. If he's holding on and he's really fighting me for this, his hands are not stronger than my entire body. So as I turn, it may go off right there, but I'm turning using my hand as the lever and my body as the pivot point. I'm using all the momentum of my torso to break that weapon free. At this point, if I wanted to elbow him, that's great because my elbow's right there, or I can smash across his face with the pistol. Then I can step back, I have the weapon, and I've got it in a safer position.